Hello and welcome to the big picture. After months of tensions bordering on hostility following the Pathankot attack, the foreign secretaries of India and Pakistan met in the capital the day before. The meeting, which was supposed to have taken place in Islamabad in January, was cancelled following the Pathankot attack. The bilateral meeting, which took place during the Heart of Asia conference dealing with Afghanistan, has received mixed reactions. While some see it as the breaking of ice, some others see it as not having yielded any results. The issues which came up during the meeting between the two also indicates that the two countries are holding on to their positions without any forward movement on most issues. However, is the meeting any indication of the resumption of the dialogue process? What happens to the initiative of Prime Minister Modi when he made that famous visit to Lahore in December? Can a comprehensive dialogue process be resumed now? This and other questions have cropped up which needs understanding. To discuss this, I have with me Vivek Katju, former ambassador, Major General retired Ashok Mehta, a security analyst, Rana Banerji, former Special Secretary, Cabinet Secretariat, Vinod Sharma, political editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Katju, you seem to be a disappointed man. Going by the article which has been published today.
No, I'm not disappointed because right from the time this initiative was taken by the Prime Minister, it was a brave initiative. In December, I had questions which I used to articulate then and in the months that have followed.
Sorry to intervene. You said it was a brave initiative. And today, when I look at what you have written, you are saying that that initiative has failed.
Brave initiatives can also fail. The point which I am making is that I was expecting that the Pakistan army was not on board on this initiative. I think this initiative's basic presumption was that the army and Nawaz Sharif found the same page,
right.
Girish. And quite clearly, this assumption was misleading. And that has been proved correct. I've written an article today where I've articulated this view that the generals have ensured, the Pakistani generals have ensured that this initiative would go nowhere. And this meeting which took place between the foreign secretaries on the sidelines of the Heart of Asia conference was not a meeting which was envisaged as part of the initiative. That was to be a meeting for working out the modalities of the comprehensive bilateral dialogue. The result of this meeting is there for everyone to see. And in between, it's not only been Pathankot, it's also been what I call this great provocation about Kulbhushan Jadhav. As our statement has rightly said, here's a retired naval officer who's been abducted and taken to Pakistan. And all this...
And then presented
as not only as a spy, but as someone fomenting trouble. And what have the Pakistanis said? They've put it in his mouth, but they've said that one of his main handlers, or he was being directly handled by our national security advisor. Now, this kind of, it's a provocation and a deliberate provocation. Who has said this? The DG ISPR, Major General Asim Bajwa. Why? We can't overlook this.
Okay. Mr. Banerji, how, are these provocations coming? I mean, the confusing signals coming from Pakistan. On the one hand, we see the Prime Minister makes all kinds of, statements which are positive, and then these kind of things happen, as Mr. Katju is pointing out, the Kulbhushan Yadav drama which is going on. What are the signals which we are getting, and this foreign secretary level talks? Was it necessary at this stage?
Well, it has taken place, and a bilateral meeting is always welcome, though it was not part of a sort of engagement which was previously specified. This is, he came for the Heart of Asia conference. So it would have been churlish if the bilateral dialogue hadn't taken place at all. But of course, as you have rightly pointed out and Mr. Katju has written, it has been a reiteration of hard positions from both sides. So really speaking, it cannot be seen to be a process in the direction of resumption of the comprehensive dialogue. It is not. And I would also agree with Mr. Katju when he suggests that now there is a definite hardening of the position of the Pakistan army, which has been conveyed through the
They are talking of the UN resolution. They're going back to Kashmir, the UN resolution.
All that is all right about when they say Kashmir is a core issue, that is their stated position. But on Jadhav, the point that Mr. Katju made, that they deliberately tried to show that, this is a high moral ground, that now we also have a body to show that India is doing what they have been accusing us of doing. So that sort of thing is a little strange, and it's not borne out by the factual position on the ground, in the sense that Yadav doesn't seem to know much about Balochistan. He has been given some script to talk about, and he doesn't actually know what he is saying. So that makes it very obvious that he is not a well-trained agent.
And consular access has not been given to him.
Consular access has not been given. So that way definitely indicates a hardening of the position of the Pakistan army in the context of the dialogue process. Whether they were on board or not at the time of the Lahore visit, I don't know if I can sort of say that they were not. It still has not.
So things have changed, may have changed since then. General Mehta, how do you look at this?
Well,
the core point which Mr. Katju has been arguing this for quite some time now, ever since January or even December. He says that army is not on board, or army, like everybody, a lot of people had assumed.
See, one had assumed that when you innovated this two-track process of a composite bilateral dialogue with a one track dealing with Foreign Secretary on Kashmir and other issues, and the primary track being the NSA track,
Yes.
brand new, innovative stuff. And also the assumption that because you had a retired general on it, that retired general had a direct line to Rahil Sharif. Well, apparently that has not proven true. That has been disproven by the fact that today the dialogue is back to square zero or square one, because we are back.
But that assumption, especially in the context of what you said, the NSA being a former army person, that assumption was not at that time was not really a wrong assumption.
No, it wasn't. That's precisely what I'm saying. That everybody thought that the army is on board, which was not the case. But a slight qualification here. The army, I think, is on board for a cosmetic dialogue. Because the army doesn't want to be seen to be the villain of the piece. In this instance, let me illustrate this, that in this instance, while Nawaz Sharif rang up and he commiserated with the Indian Prime Minister, he said, we will comply, we will be cooperative, and they booked a few people, not necessarily JEM, Jaish, but some people were booked. Where the army drew a line was when it appeared that the government of Pakistan was prepared to act against one of their strategic assets, Jaish-e-Mohammed. Now that is something that the Pakistan army, that's a red line. That's something that is not acceptable.
You mean to say that when India demanded action as far as the Pathankot
we asked for reciprocity. In fact, what are we saying?
Pakistan army was not aware that this is the man which will ultimately ask.
Pakistani army was aware. Pakistan army apparently had not, with the one Sharif, had not apparently clarified this with the other Sharif, that this is the limit to which we will let you go. And therefore you are today back to that position that progress on the Foreign Secretary level talks are contingent upon action again on Pathankot. So you are back to where you were. But I think if the two foreign secretaries met on the sidelines, I think that is an incremental good step. Keep talking to each other.
Keep talking.
Keep talking. Keep engaged.
Vinod, keep talking, and dialogue is the only solution. So continuous dialogue has to be there. All that is fine. What happens, when you look at it from the aspect of the initiative taken by the Indian Prime Minister in December, you see this as some kind of a forward movement after all those hostilities which have been there for the last few months?
The forward movement is something which is very subjectively defined. What is a forward movement? But if you compare this with the sudden suspension of the dialogue, quote unquote, to use the expression of the Pakistan High Commissioner here, and that statement of the Pakistan High Commissioner came after the statement by Mr. Jaishankar at the Carnegie Foundation lecture, where he made a similar, he used different words to which would make one lead to a similar inference. So at that point, there were certain sections in the government interpreted that statement of the High Commissioner as a riposte or as some kind of a endorsement of what Mr. Jaishankar said. Now, let me tell you one thing. Between now and when the SAARC summit is held in Islamabad, there shall be forward movement, because Prime Minister Modi or this government would not like to be seen as coming in the way of the hosting of that summit by Islamabad. And that summit cannot be hosted unless our Prime Minister is a participant. And I would take my other esteemed panelists to the days 2004, when despite all the problems, all the negative indications that we were getting from across all fronts, there was a memorandum of understanding signed between Prime Minister Vajpayee and General Pervez Musharraf. Now coming to the Pakistan Army, you see, it is a wrong inference to say that the civilian government of Nawaz Sharif is more willing to act against Jaish-e-Mohammed than the Pakistan Army. I think that the reluctance, if at all, to act against Jaish-e-Mohammed is equal and perhaps more on the civilian front, because they cannot use the army to take out Jaish-e-Mohammed. They'll have to do it via the instrumentalities of police and intelligence, which reports into the civilian leadership.
One second, Vinod. If that is the case, what your contention that both the civilian as well as the military are equally not in favor of taking action against Jaish, then why all these things after the Pathankot attack, the kind of signals which are being sent by the civilian government, why is this happening? What are they trying to say?
No, I do not know what dynamics led to it. But if you remember, Mr. Sartaj Aziz, during a visit to United States, said that certain telephone numbers furnished to them by us have been traced back to Jaish-e-Mohammed. He said it on the US territory. And I think that this issue of Pathankot is within the knowledge not just of India and Pakistan, but all countries, including China and the United States, which are committed to the resolution to fight terror globally. This is a challenge for Indian diplomacy, to make Pakistan see reason, and also a challenge of Indian diplomacy to establish that Mr. Kulbhushan Yadav is not an agent, was not an agent of our research and analysis wing. And there is an inquiry already happening in Iran. And when our External Affairs Minister went to Iran, I heard nothing relating to this by way of a bilateral exchange between her interlocutors there. So there is something which is surely there and which is not within the public domain, which we do not know. Maybe my esteemed friend Vivek Katju, given his vast experience in the External Affairs Ministry and dealing with Pakistan and Iran, would be able to throw better light on that.
Okay,
but there is an inquiry pending and underway there on the activities of Kulbhushan Yadav.
Okay, well, Mr. Katju, is it the challenge of diplomacy, as Vinod puts it, And where does diplomacy stand here in the context of whatever has happened? What you are saying and what he is saying.
Look, in the first place, I fervently hope, but it's only hope, that what Vinod is saying is right, because any sane person would want forward movement in the India-Pakistan relationship. And I really hope that by the time the SAARC summit is held, things would move forward between the two countries. But I'm not so sure about the attitude of the Pakistan army. I think the Pakistan army's primary focus at the moment is to try to create moral equivalence between India and Pakistan on terror.
And you think that now they have, with the other thing, they are trying
Yes, absolutely. Now, on Jadhav, I would go by what has come out publicly in India and what has been said by our authorities, which is that Jadhav is only a retired naval officer who was based in Chabahar and was conducting business, and that he has been abducted to Pakistan, and that all this is being concocted.
Okay, sir.
Therefore, from that I infer that all this hope that I may entertain along with Vinod is really without foundation.
Okay.
And I hate to think on things without foundation, just as in December this assumption was made that because a political Fauji has been appointed as Nawaz Sharif's national security advisor, the Pakistan army is on board with this great initiative.
You saying that I am being vindicated. You are vindicated as of now.
Temporarily vindicated, yes.
Yes, he is vindicated.
I don't look for vindication.
Anyway, we are joined in now by Nusrat Amin, a senior journalist from Karachi. Mr. Amin, what is happening to the India-Pakistan dialogue process after this talks between the foreign secretaries day before yesterday? How is Pakistan looking at this? Is Pakistan seeing it as a forward movement or some kind of a status quo? As some of my guests here are saying that it seems to be back to square one.
Yeah, well, the most tragic part of India-Pakistan diplomacy and India-Pakistan relations, the process of friendship and process of developing relations between the two countries have always been hindered and always been a victim of certain incidents, certain untoward situations that are totally not required for any of the two countries. I would say rather the hopes are always there, and hopes are still there as long as the contacts and communication is made between the two countries through authorities and through officials, through diplomats and secretaries, like has just happened on Tuesday. What would the way I'm looking at the situation is the incidents like Gurdaspur, yes, the incidents like Pathankot, yes, have created obstacles from Indian side in negotiating in furthering the process. And yes, afterwards the incident of Kulbhushan Singh's arrest in Pakistan. Of course, maybe I can't say anything at the moment what was he actually doing here. But of course, a retired officer, either he's retired or not, without any legal documents, what was he doing at Pakistani soil? There has to be definitely something. Suppose if a Punjabi farmer from either side of the border is wandering around and mistakenly enter any of the borders, yes, we can assume, we can think that it happened by some mistake. But he was a learned man. He's
but
a
Mr. Amin,
serviceman.
sorry to intervene, Mr. Amin. The Indian authorities say that the Pakistan authorities have pointed out that he had the Indian passport with him. So Indian authorities are saying that, if we had to send a spy, would we send a spy with all these official documents of the Indian government with him?
I am not aware of the exact modus operandi, whether a country can send a spy with his own passport or not. Maybe there have been there have been instances of the spies doing businesses with legal documents with their own name and with their own passports. During the Cold War in Europe, in Russia.
No, Mr. Amin, is this the major problem now? Is this what Pakistan sees as a major problem?
I'm not saying that it has created something that is going to change the whole scenario. No. But what I am saying is that these incidents, like from Indian side, if I see from the Indian side, of course, the incidents like Gurdaspur and Pathankot, and if I see it as a Pakistani, the incidents of the acquittal of Samjhauta Express, the colonel who has been acquitted recently, and the arrest of Kulbhushan, yes, these incidents have definitely caused some delay and might cause some hindrances in the process. But yes, still there are hopes, and the
Okay.
Tuesday's meeting, contact between the two secretaries, is definitely something that we can count on.
Okay. Mr. Banerjee? No, Vinod's point that SAARC summit is going to take place. By that time, there has to be certain amount of resumption, or what Mr. Katju doesn't hopes to, but he doesn't have too much hopes.
I think the clue will have to be found in the possible reciprocal visit of our NIA team to further the inquiry.
There is no hint of any when that NIA team will be going to be allowed at all.
No, but the request may have been made from our side. So if the Pakistani side agrees, that could be seen as an indicator that they would want this process to thaw. But to what extent they will allow access, that again will provide some clues as to whether at all they will envisage the visit, and then how much access they will provide. That could be an indicator to see if this process can at all go forward in a positive manner.
As far as Kulbhushan Yadav is concerned.
Well, we have made it very clear that first thing is they have consular access to find out who he is, how did he manage to come to Pakistan or was brought to Pakistan. Unless consular access is given, we will have no way of knowing that.
No, but the charges being made by the Pakistan government.
Charges are obviously, he has been under duress to say what he has done. That's pretty obvious. So, and as I said, his knowledge of the terrain and the area and the problems which he was supposed to be dealing with was most inadequate from what it appeared in the engineered, TV program, his video statement.
Okay, Katju.
No, I would respectfully disagree on the NIA visit. If it takes place, it will fall squarely within the parameters of the present Pakistani approach, which is that on Pathankot, they will show cooperation. And therefore, the NIA visit, it will not lead to anything, but be allowed. But the Kulbhushan Yadav thing, no, I think at the end of the day, they well might say, okay, come. But that does not change their basic approach of wanting to create equivalence. You see, their basic problem is try to create the impression that both India and Pakistan are indulging in this terrorist game. And that is the object at the moment.
No, they are saying that both India and Pakistan are equal kind of victims.
No, sorry. They are no. Please. They are saying India is indulging in state terrorism, while from their side it is non-state actors. So there's a difference.
Okay. There are two things here, that this is what the Pakistan government, the Pakistan military might be attempting to do. But in the international community, they carry very little credibility on this. Most people, I've just come back from an international conference in London 2 days ago, and I found nobody, not even Pakistanis who were attending this conference, supporting the theory. Yes, the question of Kulbhushan, the theory that what the Pakistanis are doing is anywhere near that their cross-border terrorism is not culpable, that Pakistanis have a hand in this, whether state actors or non-state actors. And the question that is being asked internationally is, how do you alter the behavior of the Pakistan military? This is a question being asked across the board. People in Washington are extremely unhappy, extremely frustrated with Pakistan, not just on what they are doing in Afghanistan, but also what they are doing against India.
All that is fine. Where does India stand?
Between now and SAARC, what is it that can constitute for India forward movement? Forward movement for India is action against the perpetrators of Pathankot.
Okay,
forward movement for India is action against Mumbai. None of that is going to happen. So what is forward movement?
No,
we will have to make a concession. India will have to find some cosmetic concession that we will say is suitable.
No, then why is it that India needs to take this dialogue process forward?
No, because
why is it that the government is so keen to show that we are taking the dialogue?
India being the regional power, there is a lot of pressure internationally on India also to keep as the bigger power to keep this dialogue going. And as has been stated earlier, that if you want success, if you want some meeting of SARC, not success, last SARC summit, not a single agreement was signed. No, at the recent Pokhara ministerial meeting on last month, nothing
Nepal.
happened. So you will get a SARC meeting, but nothing will happen.
Okay.
Why
Mr.
are we
Katju.
forgetting that Nawaz Sharif is in very big political trouble and that the army is adding to that trouble? So, within Pakistan, the ground is shifting too in favor of the army. That is also a factor when we consider the next few months.
That is fine. Vinod, ground is shifting in Pakistan. I don't know why you find it amusing, but he says ground is shifting in Pakistan. Obviously, Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, the Prime Minister, is in trouble because of the Panama Papers and all those things. I'm sure you agree with that. But my question is, why should India, be seen as offering to continue this dialogue process?
Because India is a reasonable country. That has been your USP all through. Why did you get the kind of regard you got internationally, the journal would tell you, as a responsible nuclear power? Because you are a reasonable country. You got what you desired internationally on the nuclear front without adhering to the system put in place by the international powers that were keeping the door shut on your face. You got in because you were a responsible nuclear power. As far as the shifting grounds in Pakistan is concerned, I may go along a bit with Ambassador Katju, not because of what he has said, but because there were some action against corrupt officers within the army, not after Panama, but before Panama.
Yes.
So Raheel Sharif is trying to clean up certain things, certain areas within the army. Now,
Which may not be to the liking of the civilian authorities?
and which is a kind of setting an example for the civilian leadership. But yesterday, I'm not sure how true is that report, that a journalist who's part of the ICE International Consortium of Investigative Journalists in Pakistan, he has written a story that Sharif's name was mentioned by mistake in Panama Papers. No, I do not know how true is that.
I've read that
No,
report.
but anyway, let's
No,
not go into
let's
that.
not
I've
go
just
into that,
mentioned
yes.
it to add value to the discourse. Maybe it comes up next time.
Okay.
Take some forward movement. But last point I want to make.
Yes.
Last point I want to make is that there are ways and ways, and Mr. Katju knows it so well, that the diplomat, when he turns out to be ingenious, he really becomes ingenious, He was himself very ingenious. On in the January of 2004, Mr. Katju himself was very
I
ingenious.
was not there 2004 dealing with Pakistan.
No.
I regret to inform you, I had nothing to do with 2004.
Sorry, I stand corrected. But whoever was his successor was very ingenious in 2004. And he tried to sort of, and we got an accord. We got an accord which lasted pretty long.
Okay. Mr. Amin, Mr. Amin, is the latest problem, what my panelists here in the studio are saying about the role, the relationship between the civilian and the military authorities? You think the military authorities are now trying to assert themselves, and this whole assumption that this dialogue, when Prime Minister of India visited Lahore, that military and the civil authorities are on the same page, was that a wrong assumption going by what is happening now? I think we have lost him. Sorry. And sir, very quick last words to all of you. So you think that in the circumstances, the process, the talk should continue?
No, I think, look, the engagement must continue. The nature, this meeting was a fine meeting. I have no problems with meetings, but we should be clear.
How do you say it's a fine meeting?
No, it was fine to meet. The Pakistan Foreign Secretary was coming to India for the Heart of Asia conference, and it is conventional that there are bilateral meetings. But what my basic point is that a full engagement covering the entire range of the relationship should not be done till we get satisfaction on Jadhav and Pathankot and Mumbai.
So very quickly.
Yeah, we should not worry. Since 2013 January, this dialogue has remained suspended, but we are engaged. So this will go on.
So this will go on. Okay, we'll wait and watch what will happen. And as Vinod Sharma says, by SARC summit there has to be some improvement. We'll wait and watch. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.